tonight is the Senior Policy Advisor at the Cape York Institute, who for the past almost 8 years has been working on figuring out how Australia might meaningfully recognise Indigenous people in our Constitution. And that is not an easy job.
A push for a referendum to establish a new Indigenous advisory body has been dumped by the federal cabinet. Indigenous leaders say today's decision is a kick in the guts and a major setback for Aboriginal Australians.
She has a new book about her experience in fighting for change called Radical Heart. Please welcome Shireen Morris, everybody. Hi, Shireen.
Hi, Tom.
Lovely to see you. Happy NAIDOC week.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Now, just to clarify, you are not Indigenous yourself.
No.
You have Indian and Fijian background.
Yes.
Heritage, and you talk about that in the book and how that kind of informs your understanding and your pissed off attitude towards colonialism as well.
That's right. I think the Indians and the Fijian Indians have a lot of grievances as well, and I think my family and I came to Australia and enjoyed so much opportunity, and I think my parents always said to me, you know, it's not right the way Indigenous people are treated in this country, and I think that stuck with me from an early age.
Yeah. Well, you've said that constitutional recognition of the first Australians is the greatest moral challenge of our nation, or at least that's how some people phrase it. Why do you think that?
Indigenous people have experienced so many decades and decades of laws and policies that discriminate them and treat them badly, particularly in the past. And these days, those policies and laws are well-intentioned, but they're still not achieving the results we would want. We're still not closing the gap. And Indigenous people, as they've said so eloquently in the Uluru Statement, they still feel this torment of powerlessness. They still feel unheard and voiceless in these top-down decisions being made about them. The gap's not closing. So what are we as Australians going to do about that?
Here's a clip from Q&A featuring some interesting people who were on board your train.
Because I don't think what's being proposed is very controversial or very difficult. It's just giving constitutional recognition to what already is in place. The body would be outside the parliament, not inside the parliament, and on Indigenous matters, the parliament would then be able to consult those people. They don't have to agree with them, but they would feel that they had a consultative role within the deliberations of the parliament. I don't think that's very tough.
You heard it here first on ABC News. I'm on a unity tick with Alan Jones.
That's weird. It's weird seeing Alan Jones agree with Kevin Rudd.
Oh, you know, Noel Pearson and I at Cape York Institute, we call this the phenomena of the radical centre. And this is what this proposal remarkably has done. The Uluru Statement got this unprecedented historic Indigenous consensus around a modest, pragmatic proposal that Conservatives like Alan Jones, as well as all these serious constitutional Conservatives, they're prepared to stand up and champion it. And I don't think you could get that with any other proposal, and that is the huge political opportunity.
And the government says, to quote them, why did they do that?
Oh, why did they do that? Look, I think there's fundamentally a bit of a lack of imagination, and I think the Prime Minister probably was scared about how he would pass this. You know, the phrase he used in his press release was that this won't fly with the Australian people, it won't succeed at referendum, it's got no prospects. The only thing that can change the politicians' minds is the Australian people. And I think it's our responsibility, all of us, Indigenous, non-Indigenous, left and right, to ask the politicians to do the right thing here, to support the Uluru Statement, to make it happen. Think about the diversity of those First Nations representatives who came together at Uluru. There would have been personal rivalries, there would have been historical differences, political differences, cultural, north-south, you know, urban, regional, remote differences, and yet somehow they all came together in a way that they've never done in the past, and they've put forward this proposal. So now I think we've all got to take it dead seriously and consider it.
And a criticism of this idea is that we're enshrining race into the Constitution. We should be post-race, as Andrew Bolt tells us, right?
Yep.
What does that mean? Indigeneity is not about race.
Well, so a great example is up north in Scandinavia, the Indigenous peoples are white-skinned. So Sami people, very fair-skinned. So indigeneity is not about race. It's about hereditary status, it's about citizenship status, and it's about the rights and interests that are accorded to you as a people by virtue of being the first people in a particular place and by virtue of the history of colonisation and dispossession. If you take sort of a speculative historical view on it, if by chance the Indigenous people had been white, they'd still have native title today, had history played out in the same way. So you know, it's not about enshrining race into the Constitution. It's actually, there's race clauses already in there. This is about making fairer constitutional rules to ensure that Indigenous people are treated more fairly than they have been in the past.
Well, I admire your optimism and appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. If you want to find out more, the book is called Radical Heart. It is out now. Please thank her, Shireen Morris, everybody. Thanks, Shireen.